Today, we're going to be getting into the higher time frames. We're going to be looking at daily, weekly, and monthly charts. It is very good to understand the macro side while trading the shorter time frames. So come back on Sunday, make sure you're subscribed so you can tune in for the shorter time frames where we give away these weekly ranges. And you notice that's exactly where we gravitated to this week for the SPY. So we're going to get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvda, AMD, and Meta going forward. And we're going to be looking at GME and AMC as well. So let's get right into it. First thing I just wanted to point out is this is very important to understand our sell signal. Okay, our sell signal was not making the same move as the SPY this week. Okay, our sell signal was not making the same move as the SPY this week. We're going to point that out right here. XLU is what we used on this channel in real time live in order to find this rigged move right here, this bear trap. We were one of the only people saying that this was a pretty obvious bear trap. And then we also used the dollar to see that. But I just wanted you to see the weekly ranges up here for XLU and see how the SPY is up towards its top side one. And this one's breaking down to the downside. We're not really seeing any reversal signals here. I believe that this is actually the crash signal. I actually think that this is some kind of double top. If you notice here, we have the rejection up here. We do have divergence on the RSI, and that divergence starts at this point right here and goes to here. So you technically do have divergence here. It's not at the same time. I really like them to be at the same time for an obvious play, but this is very important to notice that the SPY is doing this while our crash signal is crashing, and that is when you really want to pay attention and be careful to the upside, because the SPY right now, what do we notice about it? First of all, getting overzealous to the upside, and we're starting to see a momentum fade, right? We're starting to see this right here, and if we get any weakness going on into next week, the daily can roll over. The daily can roll over. Now, why is that very important? Well, let's look at a weekly scale, and then it's going to be really important when we look at the monthly scale, but let's look at the weekly scale. Well, if we were to roll over, we would reject any kind of upside here, and you do have the dying out of momentum on your RSI. That's right. These momentum indicators tell us a lot of information. That's what we learn on this channel. That's what we learn in the course, which is $100 right now for the entire month of June. So you have time to get it, but the weekend is a great time to learn. We always say that the weekend is a great time to learn this type of stuff, and you can do it on the shorter time frames, but you can also do it on the bigger ones if you're not good at the shorter time frames. Look at that. We could get some kind of rejection. I'm not saying we can't head up from here. We have to pay attention to the shorter time frames, but this right here tells me that we could see some kind of bad price action next week. So I'm going to be really paying attention to the shorter time frames on Sunday. I'm really going to pay attention to what these weekly ranges look like going into tomorrow. Now, why would this weekly rejection be a bad thing? Well, as we go even higher, we look at the monthly. And first of all, I just wanted to zoom out and show these parabolic moves and show this market, how it just goes up and up and up. And things have really started to scale up ever since we got a bailout in 2009. We've really just headed straight up, right? We've headed straight up for years and years and years with no kind of big crash. And you're going to think, yeah, there were some crashes, but this is just the overall debt system that we're in. So if we remain in the debt system, this will continue. We can see big dramatic moves down, but you notice whenever we see big dramatic moves down, the debt is going to save you every single time. So we're going to pay attention to that. Right now, though, the reason that weekly rejection could be huge is because that could mean there's major weakness in bigger time frames, meaning the monthly could roll over. What's the problem with the monthly chart here? It has a divergence between these 2 points. You see the divergence here forming, not confirmed. Very important to wait for things to confirm. People ask me, how do you use this information to invest? Well, this right here is a point to say, if I see something like this on a smaller time frame, I probably would not take any kind of option trade in my strategies. So if I'm seeing this on a monthly chart, I'm probably not going to invest at these levels. Now, the reason this can get ugly is because divergences lead to reversals in trend. Okay, reversals in trend, meaning we could break through key levels. We could start to go negative. And I want you to just look at the MACD and look at the last time we actually went negative. This means big downside for a bunch of months. Okay, so pay attention to right now. We could be just seeing a move like this because we're in a debt system, but we also could see a move like this if something in the system breaks hard enough. I'm really thinking we are due for this market to seriously correct, for some debt to get out of the system, and we'll see if that's going to happen. But right now, we're in a debt system, so we have to pay attention. If this rolls down, rolls right back up, well, this could be all that we get. My target of 329.55, but As of right now, I just wanted to let you know these red lines, these thick red lines here on my chart are the yearly expected moves. And right now, I think that we're going to target something like 406 by the end of the year. That is just my take. We flip over to the Qs. Let's just do it a little backwards. Let's have some fun. Let's do things backwards. That's right. And you can do this on plenty of charts yourself this weekend to practice. I highly encourage practicing if you have some free time. I understand it's a weekend. I hope you have a great weekend, but it is very good to practice before you go into trading in the actual market with money, because that money can be lost very quickly in the market. It is a rigged game, and you have to understand that. Once you understand that, you can start to play the game correctly. Right now, what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing upside, and all the media is telling you to buy here. Everyone told you to buy here. The big talk was buy Amazon, buy Amazon, buy Nvda, buy Nvda. And I'm not telling you to buy or sell anything. I'm just telling you, look at this. It looks like a divergence forming for the Qs, and we have that on the RSI at the same time. You even have like a little mini divergence. If that can confirm this month, we'll see. But you do see the divergences all the way across. This means weakness in momentum can come. If that starts to roll over, watch out if that goes negative. The Qs, last time it was able to go negative, it pretty much never was able to go negative. And so you would say the Qs overall, since they've never been able to go into a negative trend, most likely have been benefiting from the debt system the most. And I would be very, very careful about that. But if they're going to keep the game going, we have to play their game. That is what you're getting into when you get into the stock market. But you can use these signals to invest. I highly encourage you to learn about learn about divergences, learn about MACDs. So what are we noticing here with the Qs? Now, the Qs are a little bit different from the SPY. We just said they are benefiting from the debt system, and we're just noticing this here. The last time we had looks that were a bunch of funky divergences. These are a lot more clear right now, but the last time we had divergences up in these levels up here, what happened? Well, some dramatic downside. Okay, so you need to be paying attention right now. This is why on Friday, I was very worried at the end of my stream for some kind of rug pull, because the dollar's heading up, and we'll show you guys that in a moment. But what are you noticing on the Qs that's a little different? Well, it has triple divergence, okay? It has triple divergence, and that is pretty steep. So if we start to turn around here, if we reject the crossing up on the weekly scale, which we're going to go into the daily in a second, which is going to show something, if we start to reject here, we can go negative for the Qs, and that hasn't happened in a while, right? It doesn't happen very often on the monthly scale, but it does happen on the weekly scale. And last time that we actually did see the Qs go negative on a weekly scale, we went all the way down by 36.7%. So pay attention. This is a video that's very good to think about if you're planning on investing, but it's also good to think about to keep in your mind the macro side of things, as we are going to most likely see volatility scale up. We're working backwards here. What do we notice about the daily scale? Well, if you look in the nearest price action and the price action across, the Qs have big divergences all the way across. They have divergence right now that has not confirmed. That is very important. It hasn't confirmed. That's why the shorter time frames are going to be important. But as of right now, if this does confirm, that means you have the potential to go into a negative trend. Now, very key thing here is to let the indicators tell you if there is going to be somehow a moment where you could get screwed. We talk about how to not get screwed in the course. It is our risk management portion. Then it tells you exactly how to enter and get out of trades. It pretty much just tells you how to manage a trade, and it is very, very good info. We see the divergence, we see the divergence, we see the divergence. It hasn't confirmed yet. If that confirms, we can see downside, right? We can see downside. But what if at any time that turns right back up? What if at any time that turns right back up in positive territory? Okay, that means there could be another push higher before this actually wants to fail. As you can see, the upside move for the Qs for the year is 492.28. 492.28 to the upside. So that is a big, big move. Sorry, all the way down to 326.76 by the end of the year. That's right. We could see the Qs end up down to 326.76 by the end of the year. So with all of these signals, is this the best time to invest when we could be experiencing a 30% drop over the next until December of this year? I'm going to say that investing after some signals look a little bit better for upside might be the move here, but that is just what the indicators are telling you. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm just telling you what the indicators look like. Right now you have divergence on a daily. You have divergence on a weekly that is showing very clearly on the Qs, and you are showing divergence on a monthly scale all at the same time. Pay attention. Now, Apple on the daily scale, doing what we've said, right? We said down here the best that this could do is get some kind of full retest. And a lot of people are talking about how this could break out to the upside, and it very well could. But as of right now, we're seeing a bunch of wonky price action in it right now for the daily scale. We're noticing the divergence on the RSI turning down. So that is technically a confirmation there. And the MACD is back to green. There's a little green bar. So you need that to turn red. And that's why I think maybe even a rug pull is coming in on Monday with how the dollar is moving. So stick around towards the end as we get into the dollar, because the dollar is telling you there is insider selling. And so you really have to pay attention to that. You notice the divergence here on the daily scale. If that would turn over and actually cross and start to see that pullback, that's how you treat it. It is a pullback on the daily scale, and that can turn right back up. We want to pay attention to how we can get screwed. But if this is able to go negative, then we really have to watch out, because the weekly scale here is right by negative territory. Apple can see dramatic weakness, and you do have the opportunity with these type of signals for Apple to head all the way down to 155. You actually have the potential for Apple to head all the way back down to this low at 124. And if something is really, really bad, you actually, and we go into a negative trend for quite some time, you actually have the opportunity for Apple to probably land somewhere down towards 54, 51. And with that information, you may want to think twice about investing. Maybe just look for this MACD to turn back around, right? If this turned back around and was able to go positive, that is when you could say, okay, maybe there is more upside. We're in a debt system. The system is rigged, but I'm going to play their game. We want to see if there's weakness for Apple, just because if you look at the monthly scale, triple divergence is forming right now. Triple divergence is forming. If this rejects at any time, we get this to really reject down. Look how close you are to negative territory on the monthly scale. And it's very hard to see the last time Apple actually went into a monthly downtrend. This is something that is part of the bubble. It is in a bubble. You have to say it. And that's because of the debt system we're in. I don't think Apple is a bad company or anything like that. I think they're not innovative anymore, but that doesn't mean they're a bad company. They're one of the biggest stocks, and this thing is telling you it already confirmed the monthly divergence over here, and now it might see one more push up to trap some more people, and then that rug might be pulled. I'd be very careful with Apple over the next few months. Now, Tesla on the monthly scale already gave you that rolling over in negative territory. And you notice right here, we got that rollover. Sure, we get a bounce back, but then it breaks through the trend. And this is going to be key when looking at the weekly chart, because this looks very similar back here. This little pop here looks kind of similar, or even this pop here looks pretty similar to where Apple's at. It's really close to negative territory. So this is where on the weekly side of things, right here, this bar right here was where we said it most likely is going to break to the downside out of this triangle. So Tesla looking like some major weakness. It's still negative as of right now, not able to go positive. We'll see if that is able to change as we look on the daily scale. This has been one of the wonkiest stocks, but I just wanted to show you how on the daily scale, as of this weekend, you're trying very hard to stay positive here. You're trying very hard to stay in a positive trend. If you just get a couple days of weakness here, you're going to be going negative, and you're going to be ending up back in this zone. And I think you're going to go a little bit lower in this zone towards 126.20 before this is able to really fix itself again. Amazon's a little bit different, and this is the one that they're telling you buy, 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 buy. They're literally telling you it, and that's very interesting to me, because this is just a massive squeeze up, and they're kind of telling you that. They always tell you when it's like the opposite, right? Down here they said, oh my God, Amazon is the worst thing in the world, down at a price point of 176.69. Now they're telling you, now that it's a lot of points higher, they're telling you 10 points higher, yeah, this is a great buy. And you just want to pay attention to the shorter signals. We're going to pay attention to Amazon on Sunday, so make sure you're subscribed with those notifications on. But one thing about the daily scale is you were able to turn up here, but you're not positive yet. And that might be a key thing going into next week. If this is able to go, fully positive again for a couple of bars, maybe even see a pullback and then curl back up. We'll talk about it on the shorter time frames, but this actually does say positivity can be here. The probabilities are with you. This is kind of your contrarian bullish indicator. Still bearish right now. It's not fully crossed up into positive territory, but if this is able to go positive, you can see a positive move. I would just watch out for some kind of triple divergence, because right here's a clear triple divergence with the double top we talked about. That confirmed. Look what happened there. So if you start to add even more momentum dying out and you see some bad news, watch out, because this could be some kind of pop, and just drop right back down. We will be paying attention to Amazon very, very closely on the daily scale. Let's just take a look at the weekly. The weekly here, you notice it's a lot of these stocks, okay? If you see a lot of these stocks like this, they look like they don't have divergence, but you have divergence in the overall market. The stocks that do not have divergence are most likely the biggest bubbles. The stocks that do not have divergence are most likely the biggest bubbles. That doesn't mean the bubble has to pop right now. If this curls down to the center line and curls back up, if this curls down and curls back up, you could get a point of divergence up here for Amazon before this is all said and done. I want you to keep multiple scenarios in your head and just see which one is playing out. Because if this weekly gets down to the center line and crosses back up in positive territory, right, the full week ends and we cross back up into positive territory, maybe above 166.12, then that would be a sign that Amazon does want to head higher. I don't want you guys to get fooled by anything. Follow your indicators very, very closely. As we pull up the monthly scale, this is something here that I wanted to point out. Even though the other ones, right, the weekly is showing this parabolic move, the monthly is setting up divergence. So if we start to see major weakness here, we can break through. And I think Amazon could head all the way back down to its 200, down towards $62. So I just wanted to point that out. That would be a massive, massive drop. That would be a drop of about 66%. Now, we just said how stocks that look like they are not creating divergence are most likely in the biggest bubble. And this is the most rigged stock to the upside. This is what they are using to pay for AMC and GME to suppress those. And that is happening. We're going to talk about that when we get to AMC and GME. I'd be very, very careful with the Nvda split because you are just seeing this parabolic move. This is a big, big bubble. A lot of people are comparing it to Cisco, a lot of people comparing it to the dot-com bubble. So be very cautious with this one as it could just drop off a cliff. And I'm being genuine about that. I think that it's only worth probably something around, 459 to be honest. And as of right now with the split, that would only be $45. But you see from this point, not adding in the split, from exactly where we're at now, that would be a drop of about 62%. And I think that is coming. That might take a full year to play out. But right now, I think that is a very likely scenario. As far as the month of June goes, I think that we do have the opportunity to go down towards 958.05, which would be with the split $95.80. Okay, so pay attention to that. As we look at the weekly scale, what do we notice? Now, the weekly is giving us a little hint here. Yes, it is coming up above on the MACD, but this is a parabolic move. And the RSI is telling you right now, hey, if you see weakness over the next week or two, that will turn down and confirm that divergence by crossing through this line right here. I believe that would be the best confirmation of this RSI divergence. And you're seeing it. It's pretty steep here. What are we seeing? Higher high. This is going to be a point where you just say, if I'm thinking of this from an investment standpoint, is this a good time to invest? No. And one of the jokes I made is you can flip stocks upside down, and those are the ones that you can see as crashing, right? If you have trouble buying high and selling low, well, then if you like to buy high and sell low, just flip this chart upside down, and then that's how you can start to buy high and sell low, right? Because this would be flipped upside down. It's just a little joke. But as of right now, what do we notice? Divergence here. I mean, it's not necessarily on the MACD, but it is on the RSI. So we have to take that into consideration. I like mine to be very clear on the MACD and RSI at the same time. And what does this mean? This means we can come all the way down to say 90, 95.58, 958 or 95.80, and then see that curl all the way back up before this thing wants to give up. We could see all of this go like this, see that clear divergence, get a triple divergence on the RSI, and then it could all be over. But I just want you to pay attention to multiple scenarios. Never think anything is 100%. Nothing in the market is 100%. And if you ever say, can this stock go up or can this stock go down? There's always a percentage a stock can go up or down at any moment. We want to just pay attention to the signals as closely as possible. As we go into the daily, the key thing here as well, we noticed all the divergences up here. You didn't have it on the MACD at the same time. This is a rigged stock. It is a pump up. It is a bubble. It is very clear to me that this is a bubble at this point. And we saw the divergences up here in the past. We see the divergence right here for the pretty much double top here. And then what do we notice for right now? Well, we did violate that divergence on the MACD, but it is sitting here in the shorter term on the RSI and turning down, and we notice it all the way across. We do see those divergences pop up, so I would be very, very careful with Nvidia with this split. Even if we see upward price action, yes, we can see upward price action. This thing is manipulated to the upside, okay? So you have to know what you're getting into with this type of stuff. Is this a good time to invest in Nvidia? The media will tell you yes. they are lying to you. The answer is no. Okay, now we're going to work from the daily up here for AMD. The reason that I think weakness can come for AMD, first of all, the shorter time frames are screaming weakness here. So we're going to pay attention to that on Sunday. But if you start to lose all these moving averages, crossover on this MACD, negative territory is right there. So you could see in the month of June, AMD actually go down to something like $134. Okay, so just to put that in perspective, in the whole month of June, let's say we have a couple weeks, 3 weeks left maybe, well, you could see some kind of about 20% drop for AMD. So be very careful. Bad things happen in negative territory. The last time we went negative was this bar right here. We got a little bounce. Your risk management will help you with this. But then boom, we see the downward price action over time, a big drop there. This is what can happen in negative territory, and you could see that one more time right here for AMD. As we go into the weekly scale, we'll notice this, it's still positive. So if we're going to see some kind of rig move higher, the weekly will tell you. The weekly will tell you. But if this starts to reject here because that daily rolls over, I'd be very cautious with that. And the monthly is something to pay attention to because we have divergence up here. We do have divergence on AMD, kind of flat on the MACD up here, a little bit down, but that needs to confirm. Confirmations are very important. What are you noticing on the RSI? Well, if we zoom out a little bit for the price action, you'll notice we have triple divergence on the RSI, and that has already confirmed on the RSI. So I really think downward pressure is happening for AMD very soon. Meta on the monthly scale, what did we say? The stocks that are way up here and not creating that divergence at the same time are most likely the ones I'm the most worried about because they are the big bubbles. Meta is the big bubble as well right now. What are we noticing? Ever since this November 2022, we've just been going up on the monthly scale, and that is something to worry about. We're seeing a little flash of a double top divergence on the monthly scale, but remember that has to go negative. If they want the game to continue, they can just roll this up on a monthly scale, and then this would be a better place to invest than here, right? We see some kind of drop like this. Okay, this is a better investment than this right over here because that is your indicator telling you that. That's not me telling you that. I'm just telling you what the indicators are saying. Positive territory means positive trend, and we have to be open to the fact that they can let this stupid rigged game continue. Okay, now AMC and GME could really be changing stuff, but we'll get into that after Meta here. So the weekly scale, what do we notice? Well, it's in a pullback as of right now, you would say, right? This is in bullish context. This is a bearish contrarian signal if you're bearish on it on the weekly scale, and this could turn up. Now, if that turns up, what if that is brief, right? We want to pay attention to any kind of weakness up here. Those are the things that we pay attention to on a weekly basis for the weekly chart. As we go into a daily, we want to pay attention to this. The reason I think weakness is coming, well, you didn't create a very strong base right here. You actually just kind of V-shaped a little bit and then went sideways. Now, if we roll over, I said this most likely this week will flash positive. It's flashing positive for like 3 days here now. If we start to see a drop, watch out. Negative territory is there. We could head to the 200 down towards $400. If it's going to be worse than that, then I think Meta could head all the way down to this point right here of 276.18. I think is a great level to pay attention to Meta if we see some dramatic downside. On the daily scale for AMC, what do we notice? Well, this right here is trying to curl over. So if we see weakness here, this might not be the moment, but if that just turns right back around, then we can see some big positivity for AMC. Okay, we can see some big positivity. We're going to get a new level for this week to pay attention to. This level of 519 was the weekly expected move upside for AMC. The reason that that is important is because that is something that the market makers, the option makers do not expect. So you wanted to close above that level. We pointed that out live, and you see in the shorter time frames, we're going to go into it. Actually, you know what? I'll talk about that for a second. Everyone asking, a lot of people going 0 DTE on this, and I just wanted to point this out. Okay, 0 DTE. You guys, if you have the opportunity to possibly make a good play, and that play takes a little bit longer to play out, and there's potential for it to be a massive one, then why would you bet that all on one day? Why would you bet that all on one day? Then you're putting all your probabilities in one basket, and you're doing it at the exact wrong time. Friday morning at 9, we said right here, this is the momentum telling you I'm going to get a pullback. Right now, what did we notice throughout the day? This is where we said there is no upside for AMC. There's no upside for AMC because the 15-minute is telling you that. I'm not telling you that. The MACD indicator is the one telling you that. This is your momentum indicator. The RSI went below the center line and we crossed over on the MACD to the downside. That means we have potential to go into a negative trend. It means we have potential to pull back. Right now, what are we saying? We said multiple times we need to hold 519 yesterday on Friday. And this said no more upside. So did that ever cross? It did not cross. If you're going to do 0 DTE on anything like AMC, GME, anything like that, at least pay attention to your MACD indicator on 15-minute charts, guys, because these are what can help you. Now, I'm not encouraging that. I think that this overall, as we get into the bigger time frames, is just showing you like, hey, I'm trying to go positive on the weekly scale. I'm trying to get to positive territory, but the biggest signal here is the monthly chart. The monthly chart is crossing up right now. The monthly chart is crossing up right now. You see that green. Do you want to see the last time that that happened? It was back here, September of 2020. Do you know what happened a few months later? A very big thing. A very, very big thing happened a few months later. Okay, now this was 25, what was this? 25, 26. And it dropped down to 1430, something around 1430. And it never flashed back to red. It never went negative again. It never crossed over in negative territory again. And then boom. This is what I'm talking about. 0 DTE. I would highly encourage you. I do not do 0 DTE. That's how I will put it. I do not do 0 DTE because I will not put all of my eggs in one little basket for one little day. I'm going to put my eggs in a basket maybe for a whole year. And then eventually, if something is going to happen, something big is going to happen, I will benefit from it. I want to discuss on GME the same thing because what are we noticing here? The monthly is turning up. The last time the monthly turned up, it turned up in November of 2019. The price of the stock, something around $1.87. $1.87, and a few months later, we see a big rapid move. So if there is a problem here with short selling and they're caught in it, I think that overall, Roaring Kitty, if you're interested in that, if you thought Friday was bad news, you're just wrong. He proved that he has the position. He also proved the fact that they are manipulating the market in real time. If you notice, every single time he said, oh, I'm going to click into my portfolio, the stock halts. Oh, wait, no, it halted. Let me wait. Okay, let me show you my portfolio. Oh, wait, they halted it again. They are literally pushing a halt button every single time. He says, oh, I'm going to get off my stream. Halted. Oh, I'm going to get off my stream. Major down push. They want to trick you in any way possible, and all I'm telling you is your monthly is turning up right now. The last time the monthly turned up, a year or two later, a year and a half later, boom, we see a big upward move. Okay? This is why you don't do 0 DTE. I'm just telling you right now, this is why I don't do 0 DTE, because I know that every single day, if I do 0 DTE, I have a 95% chance to lose my money. Finishing up on GME here, the daily scale is still positive. I just wanted to point that out. It's not even telling you it's in a major pullback right now. If that crosses over, if that changes going on into next week, I will be talking about it live. And then that will say that's not the moment. And then this could turn right back up. And then this one is. Okay, this could turn right back up in positive territory, and that is let your momentum indicators tell you exactly what is happening with the stock. It will help you out a lot, and you can pay attention to how you can get screwed. You have to pay attention to how you can get screwed in this because they are physically trying to screw you. They're halting it every 2 minutes. Okay, you have to know these things. But right now, the momentum is still with you to the upside. I know it doesn't look like it, but right now your MACD is telling you the momentum is still with you to the upside. We're going to go into the shorter time frames on Sunday. I just want to take a peek at the weekly because it is positive. The weekly is positive as well. On a weekly and a daily chart, you're positive, and on a monthly, you're curling up. Now, we have some time left in the month, so we have to pay attention to the shorter daily time frame because we're paying attention to a monthly there. But the monthly momentum is saying, I'm turning up. I could go positive. That is a contrarian bullish signal in bearish territory. So just be aware that the weekly is still positive. This is not dead by any means. It has not crossed any center lines on the daily or weekly scale. Pay attention. This is something that we talk about a lot. We say they are going to try to fake you out in any way possible. They do not want GME to close above 457, and will have a new level of because 2903 was very important. And I'll just show you it on the shorter time frames right now. We're going to go into it a little bit on Sunday, but I just want to show you it, how important this level of 2903. This is the weekly expected move. In order for something unexpected to happen, something that can really hurt them to happen, you have to get outside of that. And notice this. We go up towards it, we go up towards it, we tag it, we fade, we tag it, we fade. Okay, we cannot break above that level because they do not want us to break above that level. But here is where the 15-minute happens. Okay, the 15-minute crossed over right here. We mentioned it live. We said wait for that to cross back up. And then everyone sits there and I see a bunch of people panicking, a bunch of people saying, "Oh, I put all my money in calls today." Why? The MACD did not tell you anything here. It told you downside. That's what it told you. It said, "Hey, there's no reason for an upward trade right here. There's no reason for an upward trade right here." And then all the way throughout the entire day, it never told you there was a reason for an upward trade. We're going to have those new levels for you for GME going into next week. I highly encourage you to come back on Sunday because these levels are proving to be very, very important. Now, why do I think that some kind of sell-off is most likely coming in the market? Because insiders were selling. Insiders were selling. If you look at the market right now, it's holding up really, really well. If you see a move like this in the dollar, you're most likely supposed to see a big downward move in the SPY. We said this at the beginning of last week that we are looking for the dollar to go up and the SPY to go up at the same time. That is exactly what is happening with this bar right here. We bottomed out right here. We never went lower. We only went higher. Okay, we never went lower than this area right here. The dollar went higher. This is telling you that the insiders are selling in this area. So pay attention. And then we can look at a weekly scale and say, could this get bad for a while? Well, it looks like it's crossing down, but has it crossed down? No, it hasn't. And it bottomed out very, very strongly here. This could reject and start to turn right back up in positive territory. So watch out. As we look at a monthly chart, what do we notice here? It was in a pullback this entire time. This tells me, I just said, there are divergences on the SPY and the Qs on the monthly scale, and we have a monthly dollar that is currently in a pullback. If this thing can cross up in the next 2 months, then all the signals are proving it in front of you. All the signals are saying big downside is coming. So pay attention. And that is not me saying big downside is coming. That is me saying if this crosses up, your MACD is telling you that big downside is coming. This is how you learn how to use these indicators. TLT was something we were talking about because I think there is a flight to safety happening here. I think this is a retest. We're going to show you the daily scale, but we talked about a retest after this big move. The reason that this is good for the market for now is because if you're not seeing that flight to safety, you wouldn't want to see this be green. It was green all week until the last day. So be very, very careful. And why should you be careful? Because if this turns up, it's right by positive territory. That could be a massive flight to safety. Why would people be flying to safety? And why is the media telling you to invest right now? It is the complete opposite. They are always telling you the complete opposite. Okay? You're better off doing your own research. It is something that I highly encourage. Okay, now on the daily scale, what are we noticing here? Well, this is positive in positive territory, and we talked about how this was a massive run up and a massive flight to safety here. That drops off because of the rigged data that we got on Friday. I think that that data was just completely made up because you saw unemployment go up, but somehow the jobs are better. So it doesn't make any sense. You have more jobs, but more unemployment, right? So it just doesn't make sense, and that's the whole point. I think that the unemployment data is what we really need to pay attention to. That ticked up, and we have talked about this multiple times in these Saturday videos. The unemployment rate is better to pay attention to than the CPI. The CPI can cause some turbulence, but will it crash the market? No, it won't. This can, because this signal is happening right now, and shortly after this signal proves, boom. Shortly after this signal proves and goes positive, boom, we see unemployment tick up dramatically. So be very, very cautious with this going forward. You don't think that there's short selling going on? You don't think that there's funky behavior? And this is probably only half the data. This is probably only a quarter of the data at this point because they're mostly short selling it in dark pools. This right here is telling you, well, holy crap, if there's no problem here, then why are they short selling the crap out of it to the downside, right? They're trying to force it down. This is what happened on Friday. This is why the stock went down. It was short sold into oblivion. If you scroll out like this, we are at the same exact level as last time. And this is how you know the problem is there. The problem is real. And this is why you don't do zero DTE. I mean, if I told you, it's just, the problem is real. They're going to rig it in any way they can. So why would you put all your eggs in one day's basket? I have my eggs in 4 different baskets. That's how I'm playing this. I'm playing multiple positions. I'm holding the stock. I'm not worried at all because I have confidence in the indicators. The indicators here, this reading here, this data here is telling me that the problem is real. That's all I need to know. Main takeaway here is the AMC and GME problem is real and the market is rigged to the upside, and they are telling you to buy the exact opposite things like Nvidia. And I just pointed that out in multiple charts in multiple ways at the same in the same video, in the same 20-minute video. So now you know that the problem is real and this maybe isn't the best time to invest, but hey, it's your money. I just follow the signals. The signals are telling you this might be a big downside move coming over the next couple of years, and it says to be careful. But me, myself, I trust my signals. And I think that's a key thing you need to start doing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a great, great weekend. Good luck with your trades going on to this week. If you want to come back for the shorter time frame for some weekly expected moves to know exactly how high and low the options market is pricing in the SPY and the Qs to go, then come back because on Sunday we're going to be giving you that info here on YouTube. Subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you want to learn about this stuff a little bit deeper, right? If you want to learn how to read these signals, very, very clear in the course down there in the description. Okay, the course is very clear. It's only $100. I'm making it $100 for the whole month of June. It's supposed to be priced at somewhere to $1,400 to $2,000. I'm giving it away for $100 because I want anyone to be able to learn this info because you can use it for investing, you can use it for trading. It doesn't matter. Once you learn this stuff to a T, the amount of power that you have is insane. So I highly encourage that. I respect anyone dedicating their weekend to some learning. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.